Everyone talks about moving abroad and how it changes your life, all the sunshine and rainbows kind of aspect. But almost nobody talks about how much it changes you. So with that in mind, today I'm going to talk about the 7 harsh truths that I had to learn when I moved from the UK to Slovakia. Now, these are the things that actually force you to grow. So if you're thinking about moving abroad, or maybe you're in the process of doing so, this video is most definitely for you. And be sure to stick around because I think the 7th truth is going to be the biggest game changer. So truth number 1 is career reset. Now, if you're lucky, you might not have to worry about this because maybe you can work remotely and you can work from anywhere. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have that luxury. I didn't have that option. Whilst I had a hybrid role in the UK, I still needed to be in the office. I still needed to be in the UK. So even if I could work more remotely, which I asked about, they said I had to be in the UK. So with me wanting to move, I had to leave that job. So with that becomes a career reset, right? You might not be able to get a similar role, or you might have to, completely start again, going into a different career path, whatever it might now be. And with that comes certain challenges in the work aspect anyway. Not to mention that the work environment, the culture, everything like that can be completely different because you're not just starting a new job, you're starting a new job in another country. So it's a lot to deal with because you're not really sure what the work dynamics is and everything like this. And this part might be really, really difficult, especially if you liked your job and then you're trying to restart again in another country. But it will teach you many things. Like, for instance, for me, it showed me what I truly value in a career and a job because we're spending most of our time there, right? So it helped me to see what I want out of my working life and what I value more. Sometimes for some people, it might just be having a bit of higher paycheck. Totally understandable. But for others, it might be having more of a nice work-life balance, or it might be having more vacation time. It could be many other things. For me, it just showed me what I value in a job at this point in my life. And if you want to see more about the job aspect for me, I have recently posted a video about this and I'll link it down below if you wanted to see more details about this. With that said, let's move on to the next part, which I think builds from there. So truth number 2 is all about starting over. Everything is new. So it feels kind of special at first because you're like, oh, this is nice. But you lose all the familiarity you've been used to. And whilst it feels amazing at first to explore and see new scenery, there's certain challenges that come with that. For instance, for me, I had no safety net. It felt like a kind of sink or swim. I was in a country where I didn't know anyone. I've moved to Slovakia and I didn't know anyone. So yeah, you just have to adapt and you have to just get used to it. And it was very, very difficult because you're having to build a new life from scratch. But with that, there is certain freedoms. You don't need to do things you don't necessarily want to. You don't have to be committed to do things, right? Where you have certain obligations when you're back home. Here, you don't. You do what you want to do. So it gives a certain level of freedom in that regard. It makes you a stronger person, stronger of mind, because you know you can adapt to things. But starting over is not easy. It's really, really difficult. And I'll touch on the emotional aspect in further harsh truths later. But with this said, there's also certain difficulties when moving abroad because you're probably not going to speak the same language. Which brings us to harsh truth number 3. The language barrier. Yeah, so for me, moving to Slovakia, of course, there is a different language to be learned, to be spoken. English is very well spoken here, but still, Slovak is the main language. And I experienced some difficulties here because whilst a lot of people in Bratislava do speak English, there will be occasions where people don't, and you can't get your point across. And certainly during my first months here in Slovakia, it was difficult because you're moving somewhere new and then you don't feel like you can communicate with people. On certain times you're trying to talk and you're trying to have a conversation and you just can't. It just doesn't work. You're not able to understand each other. and which can be frustrating for both people, for both parties. And with this, there's big problems here, because when you're trying to go through the legal process, the bureaucracy and everything on moving, on transition to move to Slovakia from the UK, it's not easy. Unless you speak the language, it's very difficult. I mean, I had to move to Slovakia. As I'm an EU citizen, I would have to go register at the foreign police, basically, in Bratislava, to say, I'm in Slovakia and I have work, I can support myself, etc. You need to prove these things. So I already had the job. I then needed to do the legal aspect. But the trouble was, the first time I went there, the person who saw me there didn't speak a word of English. So I was kind of going in naively and thinking that, they'll be fine. I can use Google Translate. They'll speak with me. But they were not having any of it. And yeah, unfortunately, it was very naive from me to think that it would be okay, but lesson learned. And hopefully for you, you won't have this problem, because you know now. Focus and look into the bureaucracy before you make the move, or take someone with you who speaks the language, because that will make things a lot easier. You can also have banking problems with this language barrier issue, because, I mean, this is what I had in Slovakia. I had to have someone with me because they didn't speak English, and I couldn't, for some reason, use Google Translate to converse. So this can be another issue when thinking about moving abroad and everything. The language barrier in terms of bureaucracy, legal stuff, when you have an appointment at the foreign police, you're trying to register stuff legally in the country, but also in terms of opening a bank account and different things like this. It's all tied with speaking the language, and this is why it's a harsh truth that isn't often, or not enough, spoken about. But with this and not being able to communicate, it brings us into the next harsh truth, which is harsh truth number 4, and for me, arguably the most difficult part: loneliness. Now, I've covered this topic in a dedicated video, which you can check out. Again, I'll link it in the description or comment, and you can check it out. But I'll basically summarize it. Loneliness, when you move abroad, can be one of the most difficult parts. For me, it was the most difficult part, because you will likely not know anyone, right? And that can be very isolating, especially when moving somewhere new, especially when moving somewhere abroad even. Very isolating, because you have, as I mentioned earlier, you have no safety net. But with this, it's not even like you can hang out with someone. You can call someone. You can call people back home, but you can't meet people face to face, anything like this. And that can feel like you're just in the trenches on your own and you have no support system. Even if your friends and family back home are really supportive and try calling you and keeping in contact, it can still feel like you're handling it all on your own, which is not a nice feeling. But it will cause you to take action. It will cause you to get out of your comfort zone and to take more risks, because you realize that there is no way to survive or live abroad without knowing people. So it will force you out of your comfort zone so you can meet people. So this is where maybe you will forget about the language barrier issue, or you'll use it as motivation to learn more of the language so that you don't have to be in this loneliness part. With that, and taking risks and putting yourself out there and everything, we're slowly changing, right? We're not necessarily the same person we were when we left. Which brings us to harsh truth number 5. Losing friends. Yeah, now this is a big one, and this has affected my journey, certainly when I moved, is you can kind of lose touch with people, right? You're not as much in communication with people, and you're trying to adapt to your new life, and you're trying to acclimatize and everything, and so you kind of can lose touch with people. You find out who your real friends are, because some people will understand that you're doing this this change, and it's very consuming, emotionally consuming, everything. And some people will make that effort to remain in contact with you. And same for your part. You'll probably make effort with some people, but some you won't. And the interesting thing is, because when you move abroad, you change a lot as a person, which I'll cover more on a Harsh Truth 7. But we're changing a lot as a person, because we have to. You have to change. You can't be the same person when you live abroad. it opens up your mind to many other possibilities, to different cultures, different ways of living and everything. So it's almost impossible for you to be the same person as you was when you started the journey. So people will lose touch. People will be maybe jealous of you because they see what you're doing and they think, oh, I love to do that, or they're happy and they'll stick in their comfort bubble, right? I've got friends who remained in our hometown, who's never left. And whilst I still love those guys and I will still have cherished the memories and everything I have with them, we just don't relate the same way anymore because my worldview and my experiences are different to theirs now, right? So, and I'm not that person I was anymore. So when you meet up again with these people, it's like you don't have as much to talk about because you're just coming from things in a different angle. And I think sometimes this just causes not just a physical distance, but an emotional, everything kind of a distance between the two of you. So this is something to bear in mind. You will likely lose friends. The friend group you have with you will likely not stay with you, or at least not all of them. But the biggest thing I've noticed in this harsh truth is that whilst your real friends you'll know who your real friends are, you also, the way you look at friendships completely changes. As in, from now, for me, I value quality over quantity. I think in the UK, I probably valued more quantity than actual quality. Now, I value quality more, which is an interesting change in perspective. And you will feel a sense of loss at losing your friends. I know I did, but at the same time, I've made new friends, right? And I've still kept in contact with plenty of friends as well. It's made me realize who the true friends are. And also in life, it's made me look at friendships differently. That some friends are not here forever. You're not meant to be friends with them forever. Some friends are seasonal friends, right? That for this phase of your life, for this chapter of your life, they're your friends. This is your friendship group. This is your circle. But they might not stay with you for the next chapter. Some will, but not all. And this is because we change as people, and so do they. Our outlook on life, everything, it changes. But with that said, there will be some sort of a void from losing some friends, and maybe not all of them will, maybe most of them won't be able to carry with you. Maybe you won't be in this lucky situation that I had with a few of my friends. And in that case, well, because you moved abroad, you need to get friends in the new country, right? So this is where harsh truth number 6 comes in. Taking risks, or you must take risks. Because like I alluded to earlier with the loneliness, is if you don't want to stay lonely, then you're going to have to take risks to put yourself out there, to get friends, to build a circle around you. And that's not easy, because if you're someone who's an introvert or you're not that confident, then this will be probably the hardest part for you, along with the loneliness. Because it's not easy to put yourself out there. I'm quite a confident person. I'm quite extroverted. But at the same time, I really struggled with this part. It took me time to get over my fears of embarrassment, maybe even some sort of social anxiety because I'm in somewhere new. And yeah, I think we often overanalyze and often think the worst case scenario. But when you look at it, we've moved somewhere new. No one knows us here. So we can be our authentic selves. We have no familiarity. No one who knows, oh, this was your identity before. This is how you were before. So we can be our own authentic self and not have to worry about people's opinions and anything like this, or how people normally look at us, or preconceived notions of us, however you want to describe it. So we can take a risk and know that, you know what, if it works out, amazing, I can get a friend. If it doesn't work out, then I'm in the same situation I already was in, and doesn't matter if I look a bit of a tit. And the thing is, it's impossible to survive when moving abroad without taking risks, because you're not going to know anyone, and you wouldn't have even made the step of moving abroad if you didn't take a risk. And the thing is, this broadens your comfort zone. It forces you to grow. And this is where you will become almost a different person because of this risk-taking ability that you have to train, that you have to work on. You'll slowly start losing your old self and almost becoming a new person, which leads us into the harsh truth number 7, which is our last truth and the most important one, the identity shift. So because of all your experience thus far, you will not be the same person. You will outgrow your old self. That's how it has been for me. I look at the me who started this journey and who I am now today, and I barely recognize myself. I just have a completely different worldview now. And the trouble is, others might not understand it because they haven't experienced it, they haven't lived abroad, they haven't seen what it's like. They might not understand it. They might not be able to see the world how you do and to resonate anymore with you, and vice versa. You might have come to realize that your new abroad version, so to speak, doesn't match with your old self or the old conversations that you had. And this is the thing, now when I go home and see my friends and go to the old hometown, everything like this, it doesn't feel the same. And that's not because the town's changed or anything like this. It's because of me. Like, I'm not the same person. I look at it with completely different eyes now. And it doesn't feel like home anymore to me. Like, I feel like an outsider there. That's the interesting thing. It will kind of cause you to feel like an outsider almost everywhere. But there is a rewarding feeling with that. Because you know you can adapt and be anywhere and feel comfortable and confident. And the thing is, being the outsider, moving abroad, humbles you. It forces you to value things differently, to value resilience, to value effort, to have more empathy for others. Like I incredibly respect anyone who would move abroad to a country they don't know or to somewhere where it's not their native language, right? Because that's not easy. It's incredibly difficult. And I've come to realize that myself, how difficult it can be. And with this new identity, with this becoming an outsider, it's incredibly freeing because now you become the person you are through lived in experience, through being authentic, through being yourself and not having to prove something or not having to live up to a societal pressure or a societal view or a community's view of who you are or who you were. You now are just who you are because this is you. And there's something really incredible about that. There's some incredible freedom with that. But of course, it's not easy. This change, this is the thing you need to realize. You're not going to be the same person from who started the journey to who's now in the driver's seat, to who you are now. So if that scares you, then maybe moving abroad won't be for you, or not for you just yet. The thing is, when you're forced to rebuild your life somewhere new, you'll realize how much you were relying on familiarity in your old place. And that doesn't come from a place of strength. It's almost a crutch. That's why this can be so powerful if you do move abroad, because you don't have that crutch anymore. You throw it away and you get authentic confidence and you know who you are more. So bringing this all together, the overall harsh truth is you will say goodbye to your old version of yourself. You will lose that version of yourself. But you get to rebuild the new version of yourself, the new and improved, if you'd like. One that is authentic to you, who you're becoming, who you've always wanted to be. You get to build that yourself. And there's something really special about that. Whilst you have to come across all these obstacles, there is that reward at the end of it. With that in mind, let me know below, have you thought about moving abroad? Have you moved abroad? Is there any harsh truths you think I've missed? Did you really struggle with some of these hard truths? If so, what was the worst one for you? Let me know below. I'd love to see what you'd have to say on this matter, because I don't think these harsh truths are talked about enough. I think we mainly focus on, when it comes to moving abroad, is the sunshine and rainbows, how amazing it is, without covering the nitty-gritty, right? And I think it's important that we do that. So if this video was helpful, then please do leave a like, as it really does help out. And if you'd like to see more life lessons from me, or you want to see more videos on these harsh truths, because I've done dedicated videos to some of these already, then feel free to check out the pinned comment and the description where I'll share some videos. But also I'll link a playlist right here as well, so you can see more life lessons from moving abroad. That being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.